Hey, and welcome to the Internet Roundup. I'm Chuck, and that's Josh, and this is normally the studio where we record stuff you should know.
Right.
But every Sunday morning, we come in here to record Internet Roundup, just for you. And this week, we are rounding up two stories. One on cigarette smoking, and this is great! Cigarette smoking has reached an all-time low among American adults since they began tracking smoking.
Yeah, the CDC.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's
All-time low.
down to 17% across all American adults.
That's amazing.
And apparently in 1965, I'm actually surprised it wasn't higher, but 42.4% of all Americans smoked in 1965. And it's down to 17%.
Just 42%?
That's what I'm saying. I
'Cause it
would
was
guess it'd be like
37.
180.
Wow. Because it was 37% just 10 years ago.
Was it really?
It said it's a 20% drop in
Man,
the
I
past
have
10
to
years.
say, Chuck,
That's great.
those tobacco lawsuits were really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bravo on the lawsuits.
I guess so. I mean, like it definitely had the effect that they were going after.
It's pretty amazing. So they're the good news is they are down across all American adults. The
Yeah.
bad news is still among the poor and certain minority groups, they are up. Well, not up, but higher than the 17%.
Right, yeah. It's 17% overall. But for example, among those with a General Education Development Certificate, or GED,
Yeah.
smoking is at 43%.
Yeah. If you're on Medicaid, it's close to 30%, 29.1%.
Yeah.
So those numbers need to come down because obviously if you're on Medicaid and you're smoking, there's a couple of problems. One is you're going to be a burden on the system more because of your health. And the
Right.
other is you're not getting access to means to stop on Medicaid,
No, you're not.
you know?
It's basically like good luck
Yeah, basically.
quitting smoking, sucker. Apparently, talking about smoking or doing something about it is all the rage these days in government because the Department of Housing and Urban Development recently announced that they were going to outlaw smoking
Yeah.
in their HUD developments, assisted housing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, it's actually kind of a big deal because up to this point, there weren't any laws about that, right?
Yeah.
You could just smoke, and there are apparently 760,000 children who will not be exposed to secondhand smoke from living in housing projects across America where it will be outlawed now.
That's amazing.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, and we should clear up. We said, good luck if you're trying to quit smoking on Medicaid. All 50 states do have some cessation treatments, so you can get a little bit of help, but only 9 states have individual or group counseling. And all 7 of the medications approved by the FDA to help people quit smoking are only in use in those 9 states. So some states are on board.
Yeah.
Big time. Connecticut, Indiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Ohio.
Yeah, and the chronic health effects that come along with smoking, that's totally something that we should be putting our health care dollars to.
Yeah, you're saving money in the long run,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. And everybody can get behind that.
But good job, America. 17%. That's a pretty great number.
Way to go. You
Keep
make
it up.
1965 Americans look like idiots.
Yeah, hey, you're a part of that number.
Yeah, I quit.
Yeah, but I mean, within the last 10 years, you've quit.
Yeah, I am a part of that number. That's right. So you want to talk Ken Rex McElroy?
Yeah, boy, I'd never heard of this.
I hadn't either. I have to give a shout out to our colleague Jonathan Strickland who pointed it out to me.
Oh, this isn't very Strickland-esque either.
No, it's not. It was surprising.
It didn't involve computers
No,
or video games
no.
or Star Trek
Or Renaissance festivals.
or baldness.
Right. So Ken McElroy, this is a Wikipedia entry. I don't know if you guys have heard of this site. There's a site called Wikipedia, and it has something like 500,000 different articles, entries. It's almost like an online encyclopedia. Wikipedia is what it's called. Anyway, go check it out. But the entry for this guy named Ken McElroy is pretty interesting. He lived in Nodaway County, Missouri, in the like the mid 20th century up to 1981 when he was killed. And he was the town bully actually in this area.
He was not a nice guy. I read this story, town mute for 30 years about a bully's killing from the New York Times. And he basically kind of terrorized this town in many ways for many years, committing misdemeanors and felonies one after the other.
Yeah.
I think his attorney estimated he committed 3 felonies a year at least, and got away with it. Kept getting away with it because what he would do is he would do something awful, get arrested, and then basically threaten and stalk people who could turn against him in court until they decided to not either show up for court or just say no charges.
Yeah, and then the charges would be dropped, or if he actually went to court, he would be acquitted. One time he was convicted, and he was in the appeals process, and he was doing his usual rigmarole. The whole thing based out of one of his kids stole some candy from the shop of one of the town's most beloved people, right?
Like father, like son.
Right. So I guess McElroy had gone and intimidated the guy, ended up shooting the dude in the neck with a shotgun, right? And went to court for that, was convicted, and he was appealing. So he was carrying out his little terror campaign to try to get the guy to back down so his appeal would be successful.
Yeah.
And the town just said, enough. Enough is enough. Sheriff, what can we do about this? And the sheriff said, I don't know, neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
And they're like, Sheriff, maybe you should leave town for a little while.
They said, you're our sheriff. Don't you have an errand to run?
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, I guess I do. I'll see you guys in a few hours. So the sheriff drove out of town, and while he was gone, the townspeople went and found McElroy, and they shot him.
Yeah, he had been drinking in a bar with his either wife or fiance.
His wife.
His wife at the time. And bought a 6-pack to go, was out sitting in the truck with her, and he was shot in broad daylight with 2 different rifles in front of, they say, no less than 40 to 60 people.
Right.
And nobody could remember anything about it.
No. And apparently his wife didn't even rat. I think she filed a lawsuit and named one of the shooters in the lawsuit, but it was a civil suit.
Yeah.
No criminal charges were ever brought against anybody, and the FBI even came and investigated it.
Yeah.
And we're like, this town is not giving it up. So to this day, the murder of Ken McElroy remains unsolved because the townspeople, well, like, meted out their own form of justice, basically.
Yeah, one of the supposed trigger men is now passed away, and so they think it's pretty much just going to end like this because out of all the witnesses, not one of them caved.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm as liberal as they come, but I found out this guy, killed his fiance's parents' dog.
And then burned their house down.
And I was like, I was on an errand too.
Right.
No, I wasn't there.
Ken McElroy. Check him out.
Yeah, they made a movie about him starring Brian Dennehy.
I'll bet he was chilling.
And Marcia Gay Harden. And there's also a book, bestseller called In Broad Daylight, a Murder in Skidmore, Missouri.
And then there's a documentary, too, called Without Mercy. That was in 2004 it was released.
That's tough stuff, man. You don't want to encourage vigilantism, but I bet everybody in that town was like, this town's better off now.
They've been putting up with it for decades.
Yeah.
I can't really hold it against them too much.
Well, and it's easy to say, too, that's why we have a criminal justice system.
Right.
But it was failing time after time after time with this dude.
Right.
He got arrested a lot.
Yeah.
Never saw behind bars. So, say what you will, but in Missouri in the 1980s, they took care of business their own way.
I think that's it.
You got anything else? Nothing? All right. Well, I guess we will pause Sunday morning. We're going to get off to Sunday school.
Right.
And we'll see you next week on Internet Roundup.